Alright guys, what's going on? So I got one day off in between jobs. I'm about to go right back out to Louisiana. So I gotta get this squared away. I'm gonna be doing the motor mounts in the red car today. I got the ESP one, so I'll also be kind of doing a review over the ESP mounts versus OEM and the other ones offered. I know BBA just came out with some mounts. I don't know anything about them besides that they're billet mounts and they look pretty good quality. But the price point, they're, you know, $800 or whatever. ESPs, I believe, are around 300, and then you have Innovatives, which I believe are like 230-ish, somewhere in there. I don't know. I've used Innovative on my blue one, and they kept cracking and breaking, and so I moved away from those. I went ESP with my blue car, and I've had no issues with ESP. So I'm a big fan of ESP. Some people are kind of biased on it, and some people refuse to run his stuff. I don't understand why. I've never had any issues with his stuff. But yeah, so we're going to be replacing the OEM mounts in the red one, which are stock original from factory, and they're pretty shot, with the upgraded ESP ones, which are 70A, which is a little stiffer than OEM. I believe OEM is 60 or 65A, so it's pretty soft. And over time, they obviously get softer and tear and whatnot, so we'll be changing those out, get the motor stiff again. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started and check out the ESP mounts. Alright guys, sorry for the garage mess. I've had a lot going on. But here are the ESP mounts. They're a little dirty and scuffed up. I did get these used, so I got them for a bit cheaper than new. The ones I have on my blue car I bought new. But I got these used, so I didn't have to wait, because everything does take about 2 to 3 months to come from him. But if you don't mind waiting, you get a pretty top quality notch part. Like I said, I've had zero issues with this. Whereas with my blue car, when I ran the Innovative, like I said, I literally had the driver's side snap on me twice. I had the rear mount crack on me, and I had the bushings on the inside of them. I had them wear out basically, and they were only like a month old. So I had a lot of issues with the Innovative stuff, and I kind of went away from that when I got ESP. And I really honestly haven't looked back. I know people that have Innovative and never had any issues with them. I personally had a bad experience, so I moved away from it. So do with that information what you will. I said ESP, it's a lot thicker. It seems better made to me, and like I said, I've had no issues, so I'm kind of biased towards more ESP stuff. As you can see, welds are pretty good. Powder coating hides a lot of the stuff. Some people say his welds are junk and shit like that, but I've always found that people that say his welds are junk generally don't know how to fucking weld in the first place. So the guy knows what he's doing. He makes top quality parts. I highly recommend to get his rear T-bracket as well. I won't be putting that in the car because I just don't have time for it, and it's going to the new owner June 1st. And I'll be making a video over that because I'll be pulling the red car with the Hummer all the way to Florida on June 1st. So I'll be making a big old long YouTube video over that. Obviously not the whole trip, but bits and parts of it. And you'll see what I'm trading the red car for. So I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, so today we're going to install the ESP mounts. As you can see, they're pretty lightly used. You know, they're just scuffed up and dirty. The guy was parting out his car, so I figured I'd snag these up for a good price. Like I said, you really can't go wrong with these at all. The best way to go about it is you set them in all there loosely, and you kind of adjust as you go, because if one's too tight or if they're too loose, you'll get vibration. So you got to find that perfect medium. So you play around with it a bit. But we'll get started. We got to remove a few things. Intake, take out the battery just to get a little bit more room. You don't have to take out the battery, but I'm going to do it just to get more room in there. Plus, that car's been sitting for about a month and a half, and I haven't driven it. The bumper was currently off, which is why it's all off alignment right now as well. So yeah, I got quite a bit of things to do to this. And while the motor mounts are out, I got to put in the Denton shift springs. So I'll be doing that as well. So it'll be kind of a tune one video, but I'll be making that one a separate. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so this is pretty crazy because every time I work on this car I find something else wrong with it. And so this Prelude has never ceased to surprise me yet as I've been fixing it. So we got the intake off so I can see down in here. And first things first, looking at it, it's straight up missing a nut right there on the mount. It still has the one that's right under there underneath the battery. and then it still has one in the front, but it should have 3. And like I said, it's literally missing that one, as you can see. So the reason I obviously remove my battery so you can get to this bolt, it just gives you more space. Like I said, you don't have to if you don't want to, but it does sure hell make a lot of things easier. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Also, before you remove any motor mounts or anything, make sure you get a jack or something underneath the engine to support the engine, because if you undo the motor mounts, it's gonna sag, it's gonna creak, you could pinch your finger, you could strip a bolt. So just want to make sure you put something underneath it to support it, to get it nice and level. So we're going to go ahead and do that. First, I'm going to remove the battery, get the intake off, and that'll give us plenty of room to get here to this. And I'm going to remove the whole mount assembly here instead of just the mount, so I can also get to the dent and shift spring locations, which are right underneath all that stuff. There's one right there you can see, and the other one's right underneath the mount. Okay, and this is what I'm talking about right here. As you can see, the mount's old. I believe these to be factory mounts. I know the previous ever never changed them. You can see there's some stress cracks and whatnot in them. It's not too bad. I've seen them completely bad. Normally the front and the rear mounts will go out completely, which will cause the motor to rock back and forth and shake. And then these will just tear. Sometimes the driver's side will collapse. It just depends on how bad they can get. But first, we're going to support the motor, and then after the motor is supported, we'll take out this middle bolt right here. And once that one's out, we'll take off this bolt and this bolt. That one's already missing one. I'm pretty sure I have a nut in my garage that'll fit that. I have a whole bucket full of them. And then once we get that bracket out of the way, we can get to this bolt, and then there's that one right there as well. And we can change out this mount right here for the ESP one. And like I said, while we're in there, we're going to clean it up because that transmission's dirty looking and whatnot, and I like everything to be nice and clean. Alright, so unfortunately I don't know what the hell happened to my low profile jack. So I just have my normal one, which I use for my Hummer, which is kind of big. So this is why I have the front bumper off. It was already off. So in order to fit under there, so anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll the car back on top of that 2x4 so I have enough room to get the jack underneath it, get it high enough where I can put a jack stand on both sides of the front so I can get the motor high enough. If not, I might just do it on one side, but we'll see. I don't really want the car leaning to one side as I'm doing motor mounts. Alright guys, so you get the bracket off, you gotta lower the transmission down a little bit to get to the bracket, and you can get to these 3 bolts right here, here, and here, and they're all 17 millimeters. Alright guys, so the mount came out. You see there's cracks all in it. Didn't quite go all the way through yet, but was definitely had some play in it. Anyway, we're going to do the shift springs as well, which are going to be these 2 12 millimeter bolts. Or maybe they're 10s, I don't remember. I'll see real quick. I believe they're 12s though. And then I'll show you how that goes. Alright guys, so you're just going to get a log extension. It is a 12. Careful when you get it out, there's literally a spring inside of it, and you'll be replacing it with Speed Factory's shift springs. Like I said, these are about 20 bucks online. Best transmission upgrade for 20 bucks for sure. Alright, so there's the stock shift spring right there on top, and the new Speed Factory one. As you can see, it's a lot taller, so it's going to give you a more crisp shift versus the sloppy feeling you get from the factory one. And you can see down in there, there's little, basically metal balls that sit in there, and this spring is just going to sit right here inside this. And you just put it back down and tighten it up. It's as easy as that. Alright, so we're doing a side-by-side of the ESP and the OEM. As you can see, the OEM is actually a bit taller and bigger than the ESP. So the ESP is going to give you a little bit more room on the transmission side. I said it's thicker metal too. Like, you see how thin that is, and then see how thick that is. So there you got it right there. So you just literally the same way you took this off, you put this one on. Alright guys, I'm trying to show y'all what those shift things do. So obviously in the stock shifter you can tell which gear you're in, you can feel it going in each gear, but just listen to the click. you get a lot more of a affirmative click going into each gear. It's a more positive select feed. Like, it just feels stiffer, it feels better. They're for a racing setup, but like I said, I've had them in my other one, which I've dailied, and this is the one I daily now until I'm going to get rid of it here in June. But you can just feel it click into each gear. Those do a significant difference for each gear. So I said $20 gets you that, and like I said, hands down, for $20 that is the best transmission upgrade you can do, no doubt. Shifting wise and whatnot, $20, you can't beat that. I'm gonna wipe down this transmission. I sprayed some cleaner on it because it's all gunked up and dirty. I like to clean stuff up when I'm in there, like I said in all my videos. So we're gonna clean this up, and then we're gonna install the ESP mount. Alright, it's cleaned up a bit. Not as good as I'd like to do, but I think we're about to get rained on. So I'm gonna hurry up and put this mount back on and see if it's not raining by then I'll move to the driver's side. But we're gonna go ahead and put all this back together real fast. Alright, so you're gonna put all these back in. I didn't have one for that side, so I'll get one for it later. But you're gonna tighten down the bracket to the transmission, and then you're gonna lift it up and make this go in. So I just have this loosely in here right now. It's going through the other side, obviously. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten down this one to make sure that it's firmly on the transmission. So I gotta lift up the transmission actually a little bit more to get to meet, just like that. And then we're gonna go ahead now, and as you can see, I can't turn this one now because it's so tight. So we're gonna go ahead and tighten this, and then we're gonna release some of the a little bit of the tension off, so we can send this one back in, although it is already threaded. And yeah, after that, there's the ESP mount install. A lot cleaner, a little bit less bulky, and the red bushing kind of matches the red of the car. Alright, like I said, once you get that tightened down, you're going to play with it to where you can get this to turn just by hand. So you make sure it's not too tight on it, and then yeah, you're going to go ahead and tighten it all the way back in. And there you go. So the ESP one is going to come with these two metal washers that go on each side of the bushing as well. So it's not just putting direct pressure on that bushing. So we're going to go ahead and do this side. Looks like we might be clear enough where it's not going to rain. So we're going to move to the driver's side after this one. Alright, so I got it tight, but not all the way tight. It's still loose where you can turn it, because I don't want to put it all the way on. If we're going to do the other mounts, I need to rock the motor back and forth, especially trying to get the rear mount on. But like I said, we're going to do the two sides first, and you don't want to completely tighten it. It's threaded in, it's good. I should probably back off it just a smidge. But yeah, so on to the driver's side. Alright guys, and so you're going to come over to the driver's side. Obviously make sure you're supported with the jack. And you're going to get off the 3 bolts here. They're going to be 19s. And once that's off and it's supported, you're going to pull up on this. Alright, and once you get those out, you're going to have 3 14 millimeters, one here, here, and here. Once you loosen all that, the whole thing will come out. Alright, and then in order to get this out of there, I had to remove the power steering line to get enough clearance to get this big bulky thing out of there. And that's the other part of the mount. So we're going to compare that to the ESP. Alright, and here's the driver's side compared. As you can see, this is going to take place of this. It's going to come with some extended bolts to go down in there. And then this one you can use the factory bolt as well. And then this is going to take place of that. So this is going to flip like this. Go right in between there. And that goes right where this was attached to the mount on the side of the engine. Alright, you gotta play with these to line them up and whatnot, and I'm sorry I didn't film all that, but everything just goes back in this way, and just like that. And there's the driver's side. Now to do the rear, it's a little pain in the ass with the manifold on, but we're gonna do it. I've done it before. You're gonna basically reach in there where the intake's covering right now, and honestly, I'm gonna do the fit valve delete and a new throttle body gasket anyway, so that should give me a little bit more room having the throttle body off. Alright, so this video is going to be in the middle of me doing my mounts, but in order for me to get to the rear mount, it's going to be easier. I was going to do it anyway, is delete the fit valve. So in order to do that, we're going to take the throttle body completely off. And here is the fit valve block off plate. And like I said, it's just going to be easier with the whole throttle body off, that I can turn it off upside down. I was going to replace the gasket anyway on the throttle body. I have a new one. So what we're going to do is disconnect the map sensor and the TPS. There's the throttle position sensor right there and there. You're going to do this, which is a vacuum line to the map, or to the throttle body, sorry. And once that's off, we're going to get this cable off. You just push down and then you're going to work it up, and you'll see how it runs in there, and you should just be able to slide it right out. And then after that, it is just going to be 4 12mm bolts. There's 2 bolts and 2 nuts. And after that, the whole throttle body should just slide right off. You might have to pry it off because it might be kind of stuck on there, but I'll show y'all. Alright, like I said, it's literally just 4 bolts, well, 2 nuts, 2 bolts, and they're caddy corner. So after that's off, we're going to take that off, flip it upside down where we get to these 2 coolant lines. That one goes to the fit valve, and then as you see, it goes into the head over here, and it goes up through here and into here, which goes into the ICV. Here in Texas, it doesn't get cold enough to need the fit valve technically, because really with the fit valve and the coolant running to the throttle body is to keep the throttle body warm and coolant. So like say if it's freezing out, like if you're driving in the snow or really cold temperatures, the throttle body doesn't freeze up or shut, because that can be a big issue if your car running too cold. So it'll try to make the car run warmer. Like I said, here in Texas, it really rarely ever even gets cold enough to do anything. So we're going to go ahead and take that off. And the car's going to Florida. And so Florida most of the time is hotter than Texas for the most part. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then basically you can take this line right here and go straight to the ICV. And you get rid of this right here. So that clears up some more space and simplifies some lines. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Throttle body is off, so see, just go ahead and pull that off, and boom, there. Like I said, it's pretty nasty in there. We're gonna get this off. That's on there, so we're gonna have to get a razor blade and scrape that off. Here's the new gasket ready to go. But yeah, let's get it. Alright guys, so here's the throttle body off. Like I said, here's the fit valve, and here's the coolant line that goes into it and goes into the ICV. So basically we're taking this one right here. I'm keeping it up right now so coolant doesn't run out of it. And we're gonna put it onto this one. So we're gonna detach it from back here, and then basically it's gonna stretch and it'll fit right there to it. So you don't have to buy a new coolant line. If you want to, you can, but here's what we're after. 3 bolts, get the fit valve off, clean it up in here, put the block plate off, or back on it, and then we're gonna change out the gasket right there. But before we do all that, now we got perfect access to the rear mount. We're going to go ahead and change out the rear mount. Once you get this off, you got the 3 bolts right there. Get them out, and it pries right off. As you can see, the gaskets are right here. They're still actually pretty good, so we're going to just use them on here. There's going to be 3 of them, but we're going to clean up all this surface with my drill. Alright guys, so after you get those gaskets, you're going to put them onto this one. Obviously match it up on here, and it's going to come with its own hardware because the bolts that came off of it are too long, and these are going to be run on Allen key. So I'm going to get my Allen key and I'm going to put that on there, and that is the fit valve delete. Like I said, looking at this, I don't think that it shares any other passages besides that one, which we're not going to be running coolant in here. It's not going to suck air in there because it can't, so you don't have to cap this off, because obviously it can't suck in air or release air, but we're going to do it for the sakes of it anyway because I got caps. But there we go. I'm going to go put all the hardware on this. I'll be good on that side, and then we got to scrape off the old gasket and put the new one on there, and then change the rear mount out. Alright, in order to take off the rear mount, we're going to first start by taking off the weight on top of it. You don't have to, I do, just to make the my life a little bit easier. It's a 14mm nut. You're gonna get that, and it's literally just this weight. I've already had it loose, so I'm gonna go ahead and get that. All right, and this is the line I was talking about. So I kind of just tuck underneath the coil thing, go right here, and boom, like I said, it fits perfectly in there. That bypasses the fit valve completely, and the fit valve is actually on the throttle body already. I went ahead and cleaned up the throttle body a little bit too. There's the fit valve. Clean off the throttle body plate. Still gotta get the gasket off. Got the weight off of the rear mount, so we gotta put the rear mounts in.
After the rear mount's on, that's on, we're gonna be done with the car for today. So gotta get the rear mount off, put the new one on, and then new throttle body gasket, and we're good to go. Now, some people put silicone on their throttle body gasket. Don't do that. Honda doesn't recommend it. I've never had to do it as a mechanic myself. You don't need it. Just the gasket, and you're good to go. I'm gonna have to use a razor blade to get that off because it's been on there probably original as well, so it's pretty stuck on there. So we're gonna get a razor blade and scrape all that off. Guys, and to get the rear mount off, you're gonna have 3 17mm bolts, 1, 2, and 3 on the back side. And then so once you get those removed, obviously, like I said, make sure that the motor is supported. Once you get those 3 out, you'll get the one in the middle out. And then it's going to be a bit tricky to get out with the rear T-bracket in there. But at that moment, we can just lift up the rear T-bracket, and then you can finesse it out that way. And then, obviously, the ESP one will slide right in. And I'll do a side-by-side comparison like I've done with the rest of the mounts for y'all. Alright, guys. Rear mount came out. As you can see, here's where some jerking was going on while shifting, downshifting. Blah blah blah. Like I said, those old mounts are just trash. I've seen them completely broke. I mean, this might as well have been, because like I said, that's just, that's basically gone. So to compare it side by side with the ESP one, I'll put them right down here, side by side, and there they are. Like I said, notice ESP one's a little bit smaller, but uses thicker metal, slimmer design, not as big. So that's what I like. This one came out with pretty much no issues. Didn't even have to raise or lower the motor. It was able to get wiggled out. So this should slide in with no issues. Put this one in, then release the motor, and we're good to go. And then we'll put the throttle body on after we get that gasket off. And that's all the work I'm doing on it for today. Alright guys, so mount is in place. I already have the middle one through. Everything looks like it's lining up perfectly where it's at right now, so I don't even have to really adjust it as of yet. I don't know. I'll put the bolts in, and we'll go from there. So you're going to have 3 bolts. 2 longer ones are going to go on the side. We're going to clean that up a little bit with the drill so it doesn't have all the rust on it, and the shorter one's going to go in the front. Alright, we got that all cleaned up, and we're going to put the gasket on. There's only one way for it to go on. It goes on just like that. Alright, and then we're going to put the throttle body back on. Alright, like I said earlier, just for the hell of it, we're going to cap where the coolant used to go. I don't think any air goes through it. I think it was just a coolant reservoir strictly. But just in case it runs to the throttle body or whatever, we don't want any leak. So we went ahead and capped it. Plug everything back in. There's really no way of getting, I mean, you can. I've seen people mess up the TPS and the map sensor, but map sensor is always going to kind of studded like this, and if you look at the TPS sensor, the shroud on it is flat. Studded is map, flat is TPS. Keeps you from mixing them up. And honestly, you have to kind of stretch the harness to get the TPS to reach. So I said, I know people that miss them up. I really don't know how, but if that helps you remember them, plug everything back in here, and then put the cable back on, and you're good to go. Alright guys, as always, I hope these videos helped. I know there was a bit of overload of information in that video of just me going over everything that you need to know and cover, because I was doing mounts, and then while I'm doing mounts, I might as well install my shift springs, and if I'm going to do that, I might as well do my throttle body gasket I was going to do anyway and install the fit valve, because it makes it that much easier to get to the rear mount having the throttle body off. But that's just my opinion. It helped. I got things done with it. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know. But I'm a pretty diehard, loyal ESP fan after having, like I said, the innovative mounts fell on me and stuff, and I've never had any issues with ESP stuff. They fit nice. You might have to take off a little bit of the powder coating because the powder coating is thick to get the bolts to sit right, but that's only right there inside the bolt hole. That's the only issues I've ever had with them. It's a very minor inconvenience, you know what I mean? It's nothing to complain or whine about. But other than that, solid mounts, solid product. And I'd highly recommend anybody that's looking to upgrade their mounts. Like I said, if you're just going to go OEM, go OEM. But these are a good alternative. Like I said, they're a little stiffer, and they feel great. They look great, and super easy to install. Way easier to install than OEM because they're just so much slimmer and they're not as bulky. And the shift springs are a nice feel to the touch to just help shift feel-wise as well. And like I said, if you're having idling issues, it might be your fit valve, might not. This car wasn't having idling issues. I just went ahead and did this because it just clears up a lot of the coolant lines. It makes a lot more space up in here. You know, just cleans up the engine bay a lot, honestly. So, like I said, before I keep blabbering on, I hope this helped. Thank you for all the love and support, guys. And y'all have a great weekend.